So you want to install Hyper-V on Windows 11. How do we go about doing that? Well, thankfully it's pretty straightforward. The first thing I'm going to do is point you guys to this website. It's techcommunity.microsoft.com. And we want to check to see if our system is compatible. You'll need Windows 11 Pro or Enterprise. This will not work on Windows 11 Home. You'll need a 64-bit processor with SLAT, second level address translation. Again, this is something that's a little bit newer. It's since Zen 2 on the AMD side or since Kaby Lake on the Intel side. If you're curious, quickly I'll run through this. Here you can see I've pulled up Intel's microarchitecture. You can see Kaby Lake, which is the Gen 7. That's when SLAT was enabled. So everything after that, Gen 8, Gen 9, Gen 8, 10, 10, 11, etc., these are all going to have SLAT. You're good to go. For example, I'm running on a N95 on a micro PC. That's considered a 12th generation. So it has SLAT, but just because I have SLAT doesn't mean that I have virtualization. On the AMD side, same thing. It came out on the Zen 2 architecture. So if you have something that's Zen 2 or newer, it will have second level address translation. Now, I do have SLAT on my N95, but you have to make sure that you have VTX, VTD enabled as well. So you can see here VTX, yes, VTD, yes. There are some processors, Celeron, Atom, etc., that will not have these features. So virtualization will not work. And then the last thing we're going to need is at least 4 gig of RAM. That is the bare minimum. I would never run virtualization with 4 gigs. I probably wouldn't even run it with 8. You could do it with 8, but you're sharing your host memory, right? So if you have 4 gigs, that means Windows is going to boot up, consume all of those 4 gigs, or at least a lot of it. Then you're going to launch Hyper-V, and it's going to want a chunk of that. And then you're going to launch VMs that are also going to want chunks of that. 128 meg, 256 meg. If you're spinning up a Windows box, Windows probably needs around a gig minimum. So that means your host machine is going to have 3 gig available to it, or maybe less. And then your VM, your one Windows VM, will use another gig, and it's going to run probably quite slow. And I don't even know the minimum of Windows anymore, but it's probably at least a gig. If it needs more, you can see we're running an issue. So I would run at least 8 gigs at very minimum, but 16, 32, 64 memory is pretty cheap in the making of this video in mid to early 2023. Just buy some more memory. So how do we do this? This is actually quite simple on Windows 11. We're going to go down to the search bar, and we're just going to type in Hyper-V. Now there are about 7 different ways you can turn it on. Some people like to use the command line, various features in commands. That's great. Windows has a GUI. They made famous with the GUI, like let's use the GUI. So if I type in Hyper-V, turn Windows features on or off, I'm going to click that. It says please wait, and you'll see right here Hyper-V. Now if you don't see Hyper-V, most likely you have Windows 11 Home and it's not going to show up. But if you have Windows Pro or Enterprise, we're just going to click that right there. Click OK. It's going to install those files, either locally or it might even pull them from the internet. And then it's going to want us to reboot. We can see it sourced the files. It's now applying the configuration changes. Windows has completed the requested changes, and now we're going to restart. Okay, so the box has come back online. You can see it's customizing features for you. It's not really customizing anything. It's just booting up and configuring Hyper-V. Okay, so now we are back at our desktop. We can go back to that search bar. We can type in Hyper-V again. You'll see Best Match Hyper-V Manager. We can click that. And then just under Hyper-V Manager, just click your computer name. I didn't change mine, so it's those random characters. And you can see from here, we can do a quick create of a VM. We can import a VM. We can change some settings. Virtual Switch Manager, SAN Manager, etc. Hyper-V is now installed, and you are good to go. I hope this video helped. Have a great day.